Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Mayor of Kingstown. A great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's kind of start at the beginning. I thought it was kind of a nice little thing of Iris and Mike playing house a little bit. She's like, right, it's not going to work if you don't do your part. He's like, yes, dear, anything you say, dear. And she's like, right, let's like pair the food with like champagne, and he's like, you're not gonna be going long, right? And he's like, no, I'm not. But the sad thing is, and I was scared for Iris because I like, she even says it later on in the episode, like what she was gonna do, and I was scared. I was like, the entire time I was like, oh, is something gonna happen while she's gone? Luckily it doesn't, but we'll kind of talk about that at the very end. But obviously the moment Mike crosses that hill, it's like, once again, you can run away from your problems, but they're gonna find you the moment you cross that hill. And blah 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 blah, his phone's blowing up, mom and everything. He's listening to the news. He's like, what the fuck? And like, everything went to hell while you were away. Granted, it's interesting too because you were in the middle of all of this, and maybe the argument is, this kind of falls on you a lot, but it's also like, no, it falls on the guards. They wanted this done. You told them explicitly, don't do this, don't do it. And not only did they go through with it, they also reneged on their end of the deal. So Mike's calling his mom, and his mom is just kind of, obviously it's like, have they said Kyle's name? They haven't, so it's like, right, so he's not dead. Like, everything's going to work out. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to work it out. The police are at her front door. She's just like, wow, we haven't seen Kyle since. Yes, but it's like, no, mom, those police, they don't have jurisdiction there. So basically being like, even if you tell them this, they're not going to be able to help you. Like, I got this. Don't worry, mom. I got it. He's like, fuck. I'm actually surprised he didn't call Bunny this episode, but it's just like, right, there's nothing Bunny could do. Like, So he shows up at the crime scene. Obviously, not everyone there knows what Mike does, because he has to explain. He's like, yo, God, what was he, a criminal advocate or something like that? It's like, well, you were, locked up yourself. And it's like, well, yes. Because not the people that are there, except for like Ian and Mike's captain, I don't know. I mean, Ian and Kyle's captain, I don't know if anyone else there amongst that chain of command knows who Mike is and what he does. Like, that he's like the mayor and everything. Like, I don't know if people in that that showed up there know that. So it turns into this, obviously, situation of later on they start putting out guards on display, the ones that aren't already dead, and they're making a statement, they're making a point. And the fact is, they don't want to negotiate with anyone other than Mike. Obviously, like, the DA as well as his mom was like, leave this to everyone else, but Mike is like, no, it's got to be me. Like, especially later on when they're like, they only want to talk to him, and he's talking to Carlos, and Carlos is like, oh, this doesn't feel like a riot, it feels like a revolution. And Mike's like, it's not. It's a riot. I'm going to tell you how this is going to end. They're going to come in blasting. They're going to kill anything that basically moves in there. So, yes, I know how this ends. This isn't going to be anything special, because they bring it up, like, on the helicopter, which I didn't expect them to straight up start shooting at the helicopter, but part of their statement, I guess. It's like, I mean, to a lot of those people there's some who I think are on the ebb and flow of just like, no, this is what's happening. This is our time. There's other people just doing their own thing. Hell, there's that guy at the, like, when Mike and Ian, I mean, I keep saying Mike, when Kyle and Ian are down below, they're beating some guy, and it's like, get his pants off. It's like, fuck him. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So there's that. Just some people just getting theirs, doing whatever they want to. It's not like for some greater purpose, but there are people, it seemed like, who back Paul, and who just like, they're part of this quote unquote revolution. Carlos is as well, and I even love at one point, he's reading his speech. I'm like, did you write that out? But the moment he's reading it, Mike's like, he's not in charge here. Those aren't his words. That's like Carlos. Like, yo, who's actually in charge? It's like, oh, he wants to meet you. It's like, he can't wait to meet you. So it's like, all right. So Mike comes in on their terms, 4 o'clock. You'll be the negotiator, find out about our demands and stuff. So now, obviously, they made sure to arrest Mike. Not arrest him, but they gave him his Miranda rights. And he's like, you're arresting me? It's like, well, yeah, because the fact is that they're not asking for like an actual negotiator. They're asking for you, who also is a criminal. Well, just in case anything's said, because I want to make sure whatever it is admissible in court. He's just like, fine, whatever. Yes, I fucking understand my rights. So he had talked to Roberts, because Roberts was kind of like, I'm not about to do this stuff. Like, all these higher ups want to send me in. It's like, no. Like, me and my boys, we get shot at every day. Like, they don't. He's like, hell, I just got shot at the other day. So, but Roberts decided to kind of go in his own way, because he finds out Kyle and Ian are in there. But then he also finds out, wait, you motherfuckers are jamming? Now we can't get information out. He's almost like, what is this? Like, baby's first day out. Like, he's almost got that type of feel. Like, are you idiots? Are you stupid? Is this your first day on the job? Like, all right, unjam those damn phones. We got 2 cops on the inside. And so, obviously, him and his team sneak in. Now, this is what I'm trying to understand, because luckily, they were able to get to Ian and Kyle in time, but Kyle was having a panic attack, and it was close call, because, like, Ian was trying to get Kyle to breathe, but he was panicking, couldn't breathe, and just kind of, like, gasped, and they found him. Luckily, Robert and them lit them up. There was a lot of, like, especially from Robert's team, I mean, there's a lot of people getting lit up this episode. It's just like, wow. But then he was kind of like, all right, we're going to go this way. It's like, no, just get us out of here. And Robert's like, no, if you do this, you're going to basically regret it. You be taking that punch in your mouth for the rest of your life. So basically, like, don't run away. Let's go through the front door. You want them to see, like, you, like, this is the only way you're going to, like, it's not going to fix everything, but you're going to regret, like, damn it, I didn't do more. Because out of anyone, like, Ian's the one keeping his calm. It's a sticky situation, but Ian's keeping his calm. Like, because Kyle is a baby in this situation of, like, man, he's got a baby on the way. He's got his wife, especially the conversations he had with his mom last episode. It's just like, man, this is all happening now too. So he has even more, like, he's just scared. Like, he has so much to lose now. It's like, no, I need to be there for my child. I can't let things kind of end this way. But I think Robert was trying to make a whole point of, no, we're going, like, this way. We're not just going to back the way we did, because that's the easiest way. Like, you need to see this through on this end. We got you all the way, but it's like, don't worry. Like, you need to see this through, because it'll eat you alive. It will punch you in the face every day if you don't do this. Like, kind of take a little bit back that was taken from you in this moment. And I think that's a theme everyone's all about in this episode, taking back what was kind of taken from you. And the question is, can you even do that? So, obviously, they ended up killing one of the guards. Home dude, I'm blanking on his name, the one who got pushed around, especially by his wife. He's up there when the National Guard gets called in. And so, I even love that the warden and people from the prison, like, no, we'll take charges. Like, what? No, this ain't your jurisdiction. This stopped being your jurisdiction the moment you lost your prison. And the guy, the other commanding officer was like, no, you guys, don't get this twisted. We're in charge here until the National Guard. Because you know why? The governor doesn't want this mess to continue. Why? Because this is such a public thing. What does this say to other prisons? They were able to do this. Other prisoners are going to get ideas like, oh, let's start this shit up other places. So the governor wants this shit locked down, shut down, quick, and that's how we're going to do it. So I love that. It's almost like the warden and his, like, expected, like, no, we want to be in control. We should lead. This is our territory. It's like, first and foremost, why are you having a pissing contest about jury? Well, I mean, that's the typical thing in, like, cop-related stuff. At least, like, that's how they always, like, show it in shows and stuff. But it's also, like, what, I really don't know what status you have. I guess it's, like, maybe you think, like, maybe you leading the charge, you can help this. Kind of maybe you're also trying to clean up your own mess, because you're like, right, if I take charge, it will help alleviate some of this falling back on us and kind of being on us, considering this is our prison, this is our, so maybe that's the thought process. But Mike got sent in, and I love that line before he went in. It was like, right, he's like, hard to believe that we built this for men. And then that guy that cop, like one of the head hunters, was like, yeah, hard to believe there were men we had to build it for. So Mike goes in. Obviously, no one touching. Probably already got word not to touch Mike. Because I don't know how many of the prisoners in there know who he is, especially who he is on the outside. But it's like, yo, he must be a pretty big deal. But it's also like, right, our demands are being heard. And so he ends up talking to Paul. Like, I know him and Bunny have history. I didn't know him and Paul had history. He's like, yo, Mike. And it's just like, oh, like, you guys know each other. He was like, yo. He's like, Paul, I thought you got out. He's like, I did. But then they brought me back in. So, And he's like, all right, let's talk about my demands. And Mike, Ed's over there like, yo, Mike, you got to get me out of this, And he's like, don't, I'm working on it. And so Paul's demands is, I want them to watch. He's like, what? He's like, you know how this ends, Paul. But Paul's point is, like, don't get it twisted. I know who I am. I know I'm a criminal. But the fact of the matter is, that doesn't give them the right to do what they did. Like, first and foremost, like, being treated, like, a lot of people here think, like, the crappy meals they gave us and the beatings, that those beatings were part of the meals. But he's like, no, I'm not like them. I know that's not how this shit's supposed to be. I know how, like, yeah, I might be some criminal, but they are the coldest motherfuckers in here. Once again, they're the biggest, like, yeah, like, the biggest gang. Is like, the fact is you could get dope in here cheaper than you can outside. It's like, oh, how do I get that? Do I get my old lady to bring it in for me? It's like, no, the guards have their own way. It's like, they are the biggest gang here, and they've been allowed to run rampant for so long. Like, we did what they asked. They wanted us to take care of that kid, that dude, we did. And all we asked, better meals, not to be treated like shit, and they backed down. Because even Mike said what they want at the end of the day is payback. This is the shitstorm he was saying was going to happen, especially when they were negged on their deals, especially people like Ed being like, no, we can't, like, if they... But it was only a matter of time for things came to a head, because the guards have ran things a certain way for so long, and this is going to change things. Like, I don't think we've seen the full implications of what this means, because this is just this prison. Who knows what kind of effect that's going to have on everyone else, especially knowing that slimeball Milo, the moment he's just like trying on uniforms, I'm like, you sneaky bitch, you're going to just like sneak out. Okay, I see how this is. I was like, yeah. I was like, they're not going to just like, because I was wondering if he was going to pretend like, yo, I want one of you guys to lock me up and put me there. I'm like, no, because I was like, if you did that, you put yourself in too much danger. But I'm like, you were waiting for the situation to calm down, especially when he looked outside and saw the National Guard out there. He's like, yeah, I'll wait till he knows like how this whole thing is going to go down. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to wait till this all comes to a head, and then I'll sneak out then. Like I say, I think it's interesting because Paul is like, you know better than anyone. Like, he's talking to Mike, like, you know how this works, cuz like you've been in here yourself. You know how like fucked this whole situation is. So for him, it's like, I know I ain't getting out of here. I'm probably going to die here, but he's like, I'm the one that gets to decide how I die. They don't. When they get to think about every day, like, feeding me my own shit. Like, we saw what they did. Like, I don't know if that was necessarily his own shit, but I mean, it's metaphorical, but that could have also been literal. I think that was someone else's shit, but maybe they actually fed him, whatever the case may be. It ain't like he bringing that out of nowhere. It's like, yeah, they do treat you guys like less than human. Like, because I think Mike also has that perspective. That's why he said, like, can't believe they built this for men. And it's like, you know, especially because prison is supposed to have, like, there's supposed to be this asterisk beside prison that it's supposed to be, you're reformed. It's like, there's no reforming in prison. Like, some countries, yes. I think the U.S. is a beast in its own when it comes to prisons. But also, it's just like, you cage people up, you treat them like animals, like, eventually they're going to play the role of what you make them into. It's like, you made it. Which even, like, Mike was like, you were already, like, you're here for murder. Like, no one made you that way. He's like, no, you're right. Like, I did myself. But it's like, what they do behind these walls is on them, what they make us. He's like, the fact of the matter is, I didn't ask all, because he was like, yo, like, we should have our own choices. Like, yeah, but what about these people? It's like, no. Like, I didn't ask them. I didn't tell them to come out the cells and do all this. They're doing this because this is what they're choosing to do because they feel the same way I do. It's like, well, what about the guards' choices? Like, it's not, no, like, they have their own role to play in this. And because for him, it's like, they made their choice running this prison the way they have been, running their gang, being the coldest motherfuckers in this place. It's like, yo, they made their choices as well. And now they got to pay the price. And essentially, he was saying that Ed was going to be his Mona Lisa, and Ed got popped. I was like, yo. And then immediately the National Guard started lighting everyone up. Paul was first one through. It's like, yo, he knew, like, he chose, like, he's like, I'm going to be in here for the rest of my life and die in here. But me doing this, maybe I can spark something. You know, you let them know, like, what this was all about, Mike. So he knew that he was going to die, but, you know, he wanted to go out on his own terms. Once again, they start lighting people up. That bastard who opened up that, like, tunnel access when and Robert and them shot up, like, that dude got lit up. That was some RoboCop level blasting to that guy. I was like, Jesus. I wonder how much of that might have been like a CGI thing and how much of that was just like, nah, you like had like like blood packet things like pop on the jacket or like underneath the jacket and stuff. Like I wonder how much of that was like you going, all right, someone pressing the button, like all right, pop 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 pop, or like were some of those pop pops and then others were just like CGI on. I don't know. I'd be interested for like a lot of the behind the scenes for like the grand scale that this is, you know. But they made it through. When it was all said and done, everyone on the outs, your boy Carlos is out there, but he got shot, brought down. That poor guy, I don't know if I call him poor, but I think he got laid out by one of the National Guards because it's like, he's like, no, this is my post. And the reason why, like, it's like, why was he, it's like, well, we got the little insight to his life that he gets pushed around a lot. And it's like, no, this is my place. This is where I'm going to stand my ground. I'm not going to let anyone, and that's why he started popping off on the National Guards because he was just like, no. I'm tired. He was kind of like a bullied person in life. He was everyone's like, it's just life. He just kind of felt like he was shit on by life and he just wanted to take some form of control. So that's what he did. I'm not saying it was a smart move or the right move. The dude wasn't in his right mind, obviously. But yeah, the National Guard like laid him out. So, but luckily, when it was all said and done, everything is shut down. Like everyone else that didn't get popped laid down. Like I said, even Carlos, he got shot in the arm, but he immediately lays down. It's like, once again, like Mike told you how this is going to end. But like I said, you still don't know the implications of what this potentially could lead to. We still don't even know what this prison's future is going to end up looking like. But like I said, we see Milo just slip out. So it's like, cool. What's that going to be going forward? I think we'll get probably a lot more Milo potentially going forward of him serving maybe the role of a main antagonist. Especially that's not going to look good, especially when you find out, like, well, there's all those bodies that potentially he killed, but I don't think he did. I think he just set this all in motion because he's very smart and is really good at what he does, but he's going to be free, and I'm assuming there's going to be future interactions between him and Mike because it's like, oh, I'm free, I'm on the outside, and now all that, like, now I don't have a wall holding me back anymore. I'm free to kind of do whatever I want to, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the whole Milo situation, and I wonder is there going to be anything with the Iris thing? Like, no, because I think he might play a role going forward, maybe, but also I think he's like the moment he sold her off, like she's no longer a thing to him. It doesn't matter. There is another through line this episode which I think is interesting, where like Steve ends up being on a crime. He ends up being at the place where Mike. Because someone pointed it out last episode, because I didn't realize that's where they were, that the place they were at was that place that Robert went to in that little scene last episode, like blasting the place and taking people down. I didn't realize that someone had pointed out that's where Mike went to kill Pete and them to get revenge for Iris. I didn't realize that at the time. But Steve's there now. He's like, oh, and he sees one of the phones, and one of the last phone calls was from Mike. He's like, oh boy. And then they go, because the place was cleaned up. It's like, oh, they even cleaned up underneath the couch, and they check in the bathtub, and it's acid. So I'm like, oh, I guess maybe that previous crew that was here, like maybe they were doing some cleanup. I don't know what that's about. And so it's like, right, there's one person that could give them answers, but it's like, right, the moment we introduce that in evidence, this all gets put in evidence, and then Steve drops it in, and the guy's like, what are you doing? He's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? And he's just looking like, Steve's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's like, right, cleaning up that mess with like making sure Mike's not associated with that. So that's going to be interesting to see what that through line ends up being. But it's like, so were the bodies dissolved in acid, or was like a lot of the other, was the bodies removed, the clothes and stuff like that put in acid? Like, I don't know. I don't know what to fully make of that. That's why I feel like maybe I'm being an idiot and missing a piece to that, and not like it should probably click a little bit better for me, but I'm just an idiot and not figuring it out. But Kyle and Mike, find each other in the aftermath of everything, and because their mom showed up on the scene the moment she saw Mike go in there. First, I was wondering if she was showing up because she's like, damn it, Mike, that's Mike, damn it. Like, don't go in there, you're gonna mess things up. But it's like, no, damn it, you idiot. I know you want to fix things. Don't go in there and get yourself killed. We have our complicated relationship. But even at the end, when she saw both of her children, she didn't just hug one and like slap Mike or something. It's like, no, she hugged both of them. She's like, you're okay, you're back. And just Mike leans in and he's just like, kind of like, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm curious to see what Kyle is going to do in the aftermath of this. Like, things have to change. He's not going to stay here. He's not going to stay with a job like this. Put things in perspective for him in a way like none other. I mean, he'd already had plans to change, but I'm curious, like, he's going to suffer some PTSD from this. So, and what that does to his life in the aftermath of all of this. But I think Mike was also saying, like, right, he does take this all on himself. Like, right, I had my role to play in all this. He's like, or maybe it's just purely like, I'm sorry for worrying you, Mom. I'm sorry for this mess getting out of hand because I played a role in all of this. I'm sorry that I wasn't here for you sooner, like, because I was with Iris at the time. But I think it maybe it's a combination of just everything. He was just like, that sorry probably held so much to it. But when the situation's all said and done, he goes back to Iris and he finds her with the knife in her hand because she saw the bear outside and she got scared because it's not just the bear. I mean, it's that, but it's also like she has that fear of just kind of like, right, like I'm perpetually going to be scared of the outside world. And when he finds her, I was worried what he'd come back to, but she was like, no, she's still there. She has a knife in her hand, and she's like, I learned something. What they took from me, I can never get back. It's like they took a piece of my soul. And so she thought, like, maybe it'd be easier if I just cut away the rest of me. And he's like, Mike talks about that's a lesson he learned as well. And I'm wondering, is that him saying about the prison situation, not just this episode, but just like him being in prison in general, and once again his role to play in all of this? Because yeah, they had their purposes and stuff like that, being mayor like him and Mitch. There was a role to play in that, but now it's like, I think that's changed a little. That's different now. I don't know. Once again, you don't fully know the ripple effect of what the aftermath of this will be. But at the end of the day, he's asking her, like, what did you decide to do? She's like, she was going to, like, cut away the pieces of, but she decided not to because she started thinking to herself, like, what if the soul can grow back? So she's like, maybe I can live, like, maybe I can find a way to kind of get that pieces of myself back. Like, maybe they can grow back. Because she talked about, at the beginning, she wanted this to be chapter 2 of her life, but it's also, like, for her, she was scared, like, maybe there can never be a chapter 2 for me. Like, maybe I'm forever going to be in this state of chapter 1 of me. But maybe if a soul can grow back, like, maybe I could feel certain aspects of my life with something else and grow the pieces of my soul that were taken away from me. Like, be able to find some way forward, and just like it ends on that shot of them just sitting there together. So I'm curious to see what the future potentially will hold for them. Mike being there, like, I don't know if he even knows how to really properly help her. I don't know if he really knows how to properly help with anything that's really going on. At the time of me recording this, there is no official word potentially on a season 2, but apparently, reading through an article or two, it seems like someone, the words that's used is like quietly working on season 2, in the sense that like they've entered pre-production potentially, as at least like some production websites have like kind of like brought up, but like nothing official has come up being like, yes, there's officially a season 2. I think that's still, but I thought that was kind of interesting, knowing like some production stuff is saying like, no, they're quietly working on season 2 pre-production wise. They just haven't, like, I guess, officially greenlit it. I think it has been, the show has gotten generally positive reception, and I think it's been pretty good for Paramount Plus. I don't know in the grand scheme of things. If that's the case, like, I always hate, like, I'd rather know, like, ahead of time, like, no, like, I hate when I have to wait to know whether or not something's coming back for a season 2, but the fact is that's coming up makes it seem like there is. I hope there is. I hope it isn't something like, actually, they're pulling the plug. I was like, no, I hope there is a season 2, because I'd love to see where the hell all of this takes us in the aftermath, what this kind of does for the criminal world, what this does for Mike as the mayor. Like, how does he continue down this road? Does he back away from it? Does he back away from her a little bit, but then kind of gets drawn back into it? What the aftermath of this riot, this quote-unquote revolution, what it means in the grand scheme of things, what happens for his brother and his wife and their son on the way, what happens to the relationship between Mike and his mom, things between Mike and Iris. I mean, not even just them, just her as a character. Like, where does she go from here? How does she begin to, start letting her soul grow back? A lot of questions. I hope we get a season 2 to get some answers. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. To next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.